If you got lost in the madness of March, you may have missed the first week of the NFL's free agency period. And to help us unpack what the Lions have done is writer for Lions Wire, Jeff Risdon. Jeff, thanks so much for sitting down with us. After 1 week of seeing what the Lions have done, what's your take on what they've been able to do so far?
You know, I've been impressed that they've been able to bring back a lot of their own key pieces, bringing back guys like Alex Anzalone, Will Harris, Isaiah Buggs, and I know not all fans are fans of those guys, but they were key players down the stretch. They've done a good job of bringing back a guy like Graham Glasgow in free agency, not breaking the bank for players from the outside either. You know, they're not chasing the big, bright, splashy names, not wrecking the budget for the future years, not necessarily, making risky plays. They're sort of playing it safe, and that's kind of the way to go with the team that they have.
I want to pick you on that. So playing it safe, I think as of right now, those players only add up to around a $17 million cap hit this year. Why do you like the fact that they're a bit more conservative this offseason?
You know, they did make a little bit of a splash with Cam Sutton at cornerback, but by and large, they have so many guys that are part of the young core. Guys like Penei Sewell, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Aleem McNeil, Jonah Jackson. All those guys are going to need to get paid soon. If you're spending now, you're taking away money that you can give them later. You know those guys are good. You know they fit. So keeping them as the priority is probably pretty important.
Talking about the team's needs, do you think there were positions that Brad Holmes and company were like, we don't want to pay for that. We'd rather draft that. And inversely, do you think there were guys that they said, we would rather get that now than in April?
Yeah, I think going out and getting David Montgomery, the running back, was something that they prioritized. They had a pretty good idea that Jamal Williams was either going to be here or need to be replaced right away, and they did a good job of jumping on a very talented player. I think he's better than Jamal Williams overall. Tough to watch Jamal walk away, but he was the lifeblood of the team. But they can replace the production anyways, and I think they did a good job of doing that. They haven't really gone out and spent at quarterback or defensive tackle, which is two of the big needs. I mean, there is literally just one quarterback on the roster right now in Jared Goff. They do need to get a backup. They actually have to add two. You cannot have an NFL practice without three quarterbacks. Right now they only have one. So that's sort of them telling you that, yeah, we're not really gung-ho on what we're going on in free agency, so we're probably going to draft one. How early is the big question. And the longer it drags out, as I was driving in here, Marcus Mariota went off the market. There's not many names left that any Lions fan would want to sign, so they're sort of tipping their hat that they're going to be looking in the draft pretty heavy at quarterback.
Are there any positions you want to see them maybe get one more guy here before the draft starts?
You know, wide receiver would be great. DJ Chark is still out there. He's met with a couple of different teams, hasn't signed yet. He fit, looked very good down the stretch once he was finally healthy last season, got some chemistry going with Jared Goff. So it would be nice to have him come back. You can never have enough defensive tackles. There are some names that are still out there that won't break the bank. That'd be a good way to go. I'd be happy with that.
Now's the time where everyone's filling out brackets, but we're filling out mock drafts here as well. You have one on Lions Wire. I don't want to give the entire thing away, but walk us through what you've done here in the first round of the Lions.
Yeah, so in that one, and it's not the most popular with fans, I get that. I traded back from number 6 to number 11 with the Tennessee Titans, who went up to get Kentucky quarterback Will Levis. He's the last of the big four quarterbacks that was available. And I dropped back and I got Maryland cornerback Deonte Banks, a guy that really impressed me at the Combine. I stood in front of his podium. He talked about things that made me realize that this is a guy that the Lions are really going to like. He's long, he's athletic, and he talks about wanting to physically dominate you as a cover corner. That's music to Dan Campbell's ears. So I had him go there. And then, maybe I poked the bear a little bit, I don't know, but I took Hendon Hooker, the Tennessee quarterback who's injured. He has a torn ACL with the number 18 pick. It's probably a little too early for him, but it was my sort of subtle way of letting people know that they do have to get a quarterback at some point. He is a lot better than any of the other remaining options. If you want him, you're going to have to probably jump higher than you want to get him.
Do you think, speaking of jumping for quarterbacks, the Lions will be in a good spot to possibly trade back for a team that really wants to address that QB need?
Absolutely, and that's sort of the methodology that I explored there with the mock draft. There are 4 top quarterbacks. If 3 of them are gone at number 6, you better believe that the phones are going to be ringing for Brad Holmes, and he'll be able to make a deal if he wants to.
And ideally, I mean, it all depends on who that partner would be, but compensation-wise, what do you think the Lions could get for trading back in the first round?
Yeah, so you're going to get whatever that first-round pick is from that team this year. You're going to get their first-round pick next year, and you're probably going to get a third, fourth rounder also in there, depending on how far back they go. So That's pretty darn appealing, isn't it?
Yeah, that's a pretty good haul. I wouldn't shake my head at that too much.
Yeah, I'd be very happy with that.
These next couple of weeks now, as we get into pro days, how do you think players could either help or hurt their draft stock?
Yeah, so it's pro day season now, which is stay out of trouble time. If you go back in time a little bit, Dak Prescott, he fell in the draft because he got a DUI right after his pro day. Probably cost him a round or two in the draft. We saw Michigan's pro day was Friday, and Mozzie Smith from East Kentwood High School did not have the greatest pro day. Didn't test as well as expected. Doesn't necessarily mean that he's going to fall that far, but he didn't help himself. And I think that's sort of the range where you're at now. Just stay out of trouble. If you can test, great. That's awesome. There's several pro days that are coming up that will allow people to prove that they are more athletic, or maybe can make some catches or move better than teams expect that they do. The Lions do have scouts going all over the place. They've been, I want to say they've been to 23 pro days in the last 4 days. So
wow.
It's definitely a big time for the scouting departments and for players to prove that they are who they are.
I want to wrap things up asking about Jalen Carter, a player who everyone had their mocks, at least including him in the top 3. A lot of news has happened that may be changing that. If he were to be around when the Lions do pick, do you think they would seriously consider him, and how do you think he'd impact that defensive line?
They would have to consider him. He is that talented of a player. He has some issues. His pro day did not go well at all. He gained 9 pounds in 2 weeks, couldn't even finish the drills that he was going on, was huffing and puffing pretty heavy down at Georgia's pro day. It's not a good sign. Now, he's had some off-field turmoil. Fortunately, the legal problems that he was involved with appear to have been resolved, which is great. And the situation that he was in was something that I wouldn't wish upon anybody. But he's a guy that you never know. He could go 3, he could go 15. It's wide open. If the Lions are going to take him, it's going to take a lot of vetting by Brad Holmes and Dan Campbell, and also some players even. So like, hey, we can work with this guy. We can get him on the right track, because on the field, he didn't produce at Georgia all that much, but he played a lot like Ndamukong Suh, and that's the guy that most Lions fans would like.
Yeah, they wouldn't hate another version of that, I don't think.
I'd take that in a heartbeat.
Jeff, thank you so much for your time as we get closer to the best time of the year, I think, and draft season. Don't go too far from us, but we appreciate you being here.
I cannot wait for draft season. We got 6 weeks left, and I'm going to milk every second of it. Thanks for having me in.
Thanks.